With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories.
St. Kitts and Nevis police record a downward crime trend.
Cultural heritage and sustainable development. Insights from Mia Motley's 16th Self-Reliance Trefosa Lecture.
St. Kitts and Nevis's top cop calls for proper housing arrangements for juvenile offenders and the mentally ill.
St. Kitts and Nevis Ministry of Health issues warning on hand, foot, and mouth disease. St. Kitts Nevis Ambassador prioritizes youth empowerment during Columbia University Model United Nations delegation appearance. Call for AI training in St. Lucia to preserve human connection in education. Grenada's new national party faces more resignations. Internationally, world's largest iceberg heading for British territory. Now, the details.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force summed up 2024 as a successful and productive year in law enforcement, with an 11% crime reduction compared to 2023. The police force is anticipating a continued downward trend in 2025, like the past few years. Deputy Commissioner of Police Cromwell Henry said the Police High Command is pleased to have achieved its agenda of reducing crime in 2024.
One of the things that for me that stands out most is us meeting our objective to reduce crime. We've seen from the statistics that we have so far, we haven't released statistics yet, but we are seeing a 10 to 11% reduction in crime in 2024 over 2023. Bearing in mind that in 2023, we would have had a reduction in crime over 2022. So we continue to have a downward trajectory in terms of the reported crime. And so for us, that is the greatest achievement. And so I would sum up the year as a successful one for us, based on that fact alone.
Based on preliminary crime statistics provided by the Deputy Commissioner of Police, the year ended with a 10% drop in homicides nationwide. Though the police welcomed the decline, the homicides remain one too many, with continued concern about firearms, which were used in a majority of the homicides.
The homicides, that is of particular concern to us, of course, to most people, and we've seen a reduction. We made a concerted effort to ensure that we had a lower number this year than the previous year, and we achieved that. Small as it is, we were able to achieve a 10% reduction in homicides compared to last year. So we've had 28 homicides last year compared to 31 the year before. Yeah. And of that 28, 25 of them were firearm related. So we see that we have a firearm problem, and so we continue to address that. In terms of firearm related offenses, we've had a significant reduction in those, a 39% reduction in firearm related offenses, 31 in 2023. And compared to 19 in 2024. So we've had significant reductions in most of the other areas.
Despite the prevalence of illegal guns in the country, the police stats reveal a significant decrease in firearm-related offenses, with 31 in 2023 in comparison to 19 in 2024, marking a 39% reduction. Besides homicides, bodily harm woundings was down by 11%, 161 in 2023 to 144 in 2024. Break-ins had a 1% reduction. Larcenies fell by 12%. Drug possession dropped by 5%, and malicious damage had a 30% reduction. While a majority of the offense categories saw declines, a few increased. A 6% increase in sexual crimes was recorded in 2024, 68 in 2023, and 72 in 2024. There was also an 8% increase in robberies, with 39 committed in 2023 and 42 in 2024. Deputy Commissioner Henry revealed the preliminary stats during the January 22 edition of In Focus. The crime reduction was due to a combination of law enforcement strategies supported by the St. Kitts and Nevis Defense Force, the Customs and Excise Department, His Majesty's Prison, and the community.
CARICOM's Chair Mia Motley recently delivered the 16th Self-Reliance Trefosa keynote speech in Suriname, emphasizing the pivotal role of culture in driving sustainable development amidst modern challenges. When discussing resilience, Motley articulated that culture should not be sidelined.
Let's talk about culture as a catalyst for sustainable development, especially in today's world.
She argued that Caribbean ancestors' historical adaptability through creativity and cultural practices forms a robust foundation for contemporary challenges. Through her speech, Motley recognized the manifold issues posed by the climate crisis, affirming the gravity of the environmental threats faced by the Caribbean region.
Today, as we face the existential threat of the climate crisis, and please do me a favor, I don't know what is climate change. I know a climate crisis. And as we face the existential climate crisis, threat of the climate crisis, the wisdom of our cultural heritage has never been more resilient.
Motley elaborated on the dire consequences of climate change, referencing events like Hurricane Beryl and wildfires in California, showcasing their profound impact on livelihoods and ecosystems. Motley stressed the importance of cultural mechanisms like communal savings systems, known as susu, which have historically supported families through tough times.
Throughout history, our ancestors used their creativity to adapt to the challenges of their time.
Reinforcing the idea that community solidarity is crucial in addressing food security and housing challenges. In her call to action, Motley urged Caribbean nations to cultivate cultural confidence, citing the region's financial capabilities. She expressed concern over excessive liquidity and earning minimal returns.
It makes no sense that we have billions of dollars in excess liquidity in the Caribbean region, earning next kin to nothing. Many countries, you are a little more here in Suriname, I'm told, but in the rest of the region it ranges from 0.01% to no more than 2.5% in the majority of the region. And yet, there are multiple projects that are begging for financing in order for us to build prosperity and to build resilience in this region.
The focus was on resource allocation towards projects that combine cultural and environmental stewardship, ultimately contributing to resilience. Motley concluded her address by highlighting the symbiotic relationship between sustainable development and Caribbean cultural values. She envisioned a future where communities could effectively confront the crises posed by climate change and economic adversity through collaboration and shared goals. Motley's insights resonate with the regional audience, emphasizing that historical practices have value in their own right and offer transformative potential for today's challenges.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has pinpointed some areas of concern where the police, in collaboration with the government, would need to pay greater attention throughout the year. For the police, the pressure is growing on two fronts. Notable concerns shared by the Commissioner of Police, Mr. James Sutton, were the need for a more suitable home for juvenile offenders and a proper housing arrangement for the mentally ill. The top cop, speaking on the January 22 edition of In Focus, explained that the police continue to face the challenge of a small number of children who are entrenched in inappropriate behaviors. He believes their actions could be curtailed if proper housing arrangements are in place for them to undergo rehabilitation.
One of the challenges we would have encountered with the juvenile offenders, there is no proper place to house these persons, and they continue to offend the law in a number of ways. That is something that we will have to work on to 2025 to ensure that the Harris's Home, the Harris Rehabilitation Center is up and running.
There is some tension between the two realities where the children in question are victims as well as offenders. Recent findings from the National 90-Day Campaign emphasize that parenting skills are at the crux of the issue. Meanwhile, there is a growing presence of mentally challenged persons roaming the streets of Bastille who are also committing offenses. Commissioner Sutton said the police would lobby the government to provide a home for them.
We are seeing a number of mentally challenged persons moving around the city who are committing a number of offenses and are somewhat need to be brought into the frame under some control. Many of the times when we do take these persons into custody, there is no place to house these persons. And that is something that we will have to address along with the government.
The Commissioner's remarks came after a mentally ill man on January 9, 2025, threw a missile which left a tourist nursing facial injuries. In recent years, there have been requests by commenters on local talk shows, social media, and beauty pageant contestants to address the matter of mental health more intentionally. In the view of some people, it appears as though it's only when the mentally ill are in custody that they receive the treatment they should have received as outpatients. Others suggest that more programs be implemented to provide psychosocial support to people before their problems fester.
In a recent announcement, the Ministry of Health raised concerns about hand, foot, and mouth disease, HFMD, a contagious viral infection predominantly affecting infants and young children. Health officials are imploring parents and guardians to remain vigilant and attentive to the potential symptoms of this illness. Hand, foot, and mouth disease typically presents with a constellation of symptoms that may develop rapidly in affected individuals. The ministry has outlined a comprehensive list of indicators that parents and caretakers should be on the lookout for, which include fever, sore throat, painful sores often found in the mouth, rash occurring on the hands, feet, and buttocks, loss of appetite, increased irritability, particularly in infants and toddlers. Given the ease with which HFMD spreads, particularly in communal settings such as daycare centers, the ministry emphasizes the importance of proactive measures to mitigate transmission. Health officials advocate for stringent hygiene practices as a primary defense against the virus. Routine cleaning and sanitization of common areas are paramount, particularly in employing bleach-based cleaning products to disinfect surfaces and frequently used items including toys and furniture. Moreover, the ministry urges parents to respond promptly to their children's symptoms. They recommended that children displaying signs of hand, foot, mouth disease stay at home to prevent the spread of the illness to other children. If symptoms persist or worsen, consultation with a healthcare professional is strongly advised to ensure appropriate care and management. As hand, foot, and mouth disease remains a formidable health concern for the community's youngest members, the Ministry of Health is committed to safeguarding public health through ongoing education and awareness initiatives to inform childcare professionals and the general populace about the signs, symptoms, and preventative measures associated with hand, foot, and mouth disease. The ministry reaffirms its dedication to monitoring the situation closely while reinforcing essential health practices that contribute to the overall well-being of children in St. Kitts and Nevis. In a demonstration of diplomatic engagement aimed at fostering youth empowerment, Her Excellency Dr. Mutrus Williams, the permanent representative of St. Kitts and Nevis to the United Nations, recently hosted a high school delegation from Indonesia in a significant initiative during the Columbia University Model United Nations Conference and Exposition 2025. The event reinforced Dr. Williams' overarching focus on sustainability, security, and the integral role of young people in shaping the future. It was further bolstered by the valuable contributions of His Excellency Danya Francis, Ambassador to Taiwan, and Eustace T. Wallace, Minister Counselor at the Permanent Mission. During the exchange, Dr. Williams emphasized the importance of curiosity and adaptability throughout one's development journey, urging the Indonesian delegation not to confine themselves to a narrow academic or professional trajectory. Her comments resonate with a philosophy that champions holistic learning and the exploration of diverse disciplines, which can significantly enhance personal growth and societal contribution. This approach reflects a broader understanding of the continually evolving global landscape, where multifaceted knowledge and collaborative skills are prerequisites for addressing complex international challenges. The ambassador further articulated her vision of the United Nations as a powerful entity promoting social good. She lauded the organization's efforts in empowering youth and advocating for sustainable development, particularly regarding the resilience of women and girls. Dr. Williams's insights underscore the United Nations' role as a catalyst for change, fostering environments where young individuals can assert their agency and influence key issues pertinent to their generation, thus activating a network of future leaders equipped to tackle global inequalities. In addition to Dr. Williams' address, His Excellency Danya Francis shared his perspectives, shaped by years of educational experience. He highlighted the critical role of student engagement in bridging generational and cultural divides, facilitating mutual understanding, that is essential for future collaboration. His remarks resonate well within the Columbia University Model United Nations Conference context, renowned for engaging diverse delegates in rigorous debates designed to stimulate intellectual growth and recognize the importance of collaborative solutions to global issues. The Columbia University Model United Nations Conference and Exposition, which took place from January 16th to 19th, 2025, is one of the premier high school conferences of its kind. It unites bright young minds from various countries to engage in challenging discussions that mirror the complexities of global diplomacy. Dr. Williams took this opportunity to call upon the youth of St. Kitts and Nevis to actively seek Model United Nations experiences, asserting that such platforms equip them to embrace their agency while making meaningful contributions to pressing global matters that will define the future. Following this enriching dialogue, the focus on youth empowerment and proactive engagement highlights a promising pathway for young leaders in St. Kitts and Nevis and beyond. This delegation's deliberations serve as a testament to the potential of youth as pivotal agents for change. They are poised to address contemporary issues and foster a more inclusive future. In regional news, call for AI training in St. Lucia to preserve human connection in education, DBS St. Lucia reports.
UNESCO has dedicated this year's observance of International Day of Education to discussions on opportunities and challenges of artificial intelligence. The organization is encouraging member states to invest in training both teachers and students on the responsible use of this technology within the field of education. President of the National Principals Association, Neil Fontenelle, knows that AI offers major opportunities for education, provided that clear ethical principles guide its use in schools. For this technology to reach its full potential, he says, it must enhance the human and social aspects of learning rather than replace them.
We as educators are facing a lot of challenges because what we find right now is that the students are utilizing the technology to do a lot of the work that they would have otherwise been tasked to accomplish using basically their own brain power. So even in terms of submitting of assignments, translating sentences and paragraphs, AI can do all that for the student. So what we are aiming to do now is to train the student in terms of various ways that they can use the AI to their advantage, but not to limit the use of their own brain power. And that is posing to be a challenge because it is very convenient for a student to just ask a question in AI and get the answer.
Teachers are increasingly using AI to prepare lessons and assess students' work. Fontenelle pointed out the need to establish a framework for AI training in schools' curricula.
We have to be able to detect now when a student has actually substituted their own thinking for AI. So it means that the teachers now have to be more educated and more aware with the AI technology so that they can detect when it is being used and when it's being used in a manner that would prevent the students from actually using their own brain power. But also the teachers conversely can use it to enhance their teaching. And I've encouraged my teachers because, for example, you're teaching a certain lesson, let's say mathematics, you're teaching trigonometry. What they can do is design a lesson plan with the use of AI. Now, when AI designs that lesson plan for you, all you do now is you tweak that lesson plan to suit the exact purpose that you want to utilize it for.
At the upcoming annual conference of the National Principals Association, artificial intelligence will be a major part of discussions. For the DBS News World, Zane Romulus reporting.
Grenada's new national party faces more resignations. Grenada Broadcasting Network has the details.
In a letter dated January 13, addressed to General Secretary of the NNP, Mr. Roland Bola, the executive stated that they recently delivered a letter to Mr. Bola requesting clarification of delegates from the constituency for the December 15 convention. They said unfortunately they had not received an acknowledgement of their letter, which they viewed as their democratic and constituency right. The constituency executive claimed to witness, quote, the party leadership stifle members' constitutional rights to choose their own delegates. The party also prevented members the right to be nominated on the floor for some executive positions, end quote. The members viewed these practices as a fundamental breach of the Constitution, which prompted them to tender their resignation from the party with immediate effect. Vice Chairman of the Executive, Fabian Bowen, told GBN the main reason for their action was, quote, the treatment handed out to Peter, the way he was maligned and called the names he were called, and how he was treated, end quote. Bowen said comments made by party leader at the time, Dr. Keith Mitchell, about Member of Parliament for the town of St. George, Peter David, not being a day one member of the party, was among many which they found offensive. Subsequently, the executive took the decision to resign. GBN contacted Mr. Bowler on Wednesday. He relayed that though the letter was dated January 13, 2025, it was only hand-delivered to him this morning. He told our news desk he will, quote, respond to the letter thanking the members for their time and contribution to the NNP and would like to place on record the party's appreciation for their services, end quote. With regard to replacing the executive, Bowler said, quote, we will do what we have to do as a political party and at the appropriate time, we'll have an election to have a new executive put in place. Party leader Emmeline Pearce said a team of key persons for the town of St. George have already met and have decided on the approach for the organizational work going forward. She added that persons have reached out to her and other members of the team, indicating their willingness to support and assist with the organization work. Reporting for GBN News, Beverly Telesford.
We now bring you these international reports.
Now, the world's largest iceberg has broken away from Antarctica and is approaching the British territory of South Georgia, home to large penguin and seal colonies. Fishermen and authorities are bracing for impact. Georgina Ranard reports.
The world's largest iceberg, and probably the laziest. For decades it loitered, stuck in Antarctica. But one day in December, A23A finally broke free. Now captured in satellite pictures, it is speeding into Iceberg Alley, a place where icebergs go to die. But here, right in its path, lies the British territory of South Georgia.
I will take you out the door.
Ice is a way of life for sailors and fishermen there, but they can't ignore something the size of A23A.
There's an iceberg over that way. You have to have a very healthy respect for the ice. Because if you don't, it will get you. It can come out of nowhere when you get something the size of A23 when it comes along and it deposits these thousands of tons of ice. They just kind of hang around the island, and it does make things a lot more tricky.
The chunks could also block coves where these go to feed, putting half the world's king penguins and millions of seals at risk. But in danger, there is opportunity. Last year, British researchers on this ship seized the chance to visit A23A.
It's a really amazing experience. It's unlike anything that I've ever seen before. You just kind of see a massive wall that is way higher than you are.
Now, it's really difficult to get up close to the world's largest iceberg, but I think I found the next best thing, and I have to handle these really carefully. But in here is water that melted straight off the giant iceberg. Scientists are finding out how icebergs affect the ocean's carbon cycle.
It's unlikely that A23A was caused by climate change because it calved a long time ago in 1986. But as climate change progresses and the ice sheets become more unstable, more giant icebergs will form. So being able to see icebergs like this giant iceberg and study them allows us to understand the impact that they're going to have on the ocean and everything around them, the wildlife, the islands, and kind of the Earth as we know it.
In South Georgia, the battle with the ice rages on. And there, on the horizon, the big one lurks, closing in on the fragile island. Georgina Ranard, BBC News.
Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, has arrived in the Lebanese capital Beirut. Earlier in the month, Lebanon elected a new president, Joseph Aoun, filling a 2-year vacuum, as well as Prime Minister Nawaz Salam, who has been designated to form a new government.
I've discussed with His Excellency the latest developments in Lebanon and in the region, and reiterated the Kingdom will continue to stand by Lebanon and the Lebanese people. We also have all the faith in the political reforms, all the confidence in the President and in the Prime Minister designate to actuate the necessary reforms for the unity of Lebanon.
Let's get more on this with Zaina Khoda. She joins us from Beirut. Zaina, so the Saudi FM is now in Beirut and is due to hold talks with the president. What are we expecting from those talks?
Well, this is the first high-ranking visit by a Saudi official in more than a decade. Really, it ends a period of a strained relationship between two countries who were considered traditional allies. So this really signaling an opening of a new chapter. At the same time, there's a new chapter in Lebanon, a political shift, if you like, with the election of a new president and a prime minister designate. Two men who are not seen as part of the old traditional political class that has been running this country for decades. The Saudi foreign minister meeting the president, expressing his support and backing to Joseph Aoun and his agenda, which he really laid out during his inaugural address. So Saudi Arabia also, the key word there is reforms, because Saudi Arabia, like much of the international community, stopped giving Lebanon really a blank check. Saudi Arabia used to be a key financial supporter of the state. In recent years, it disengaged from this country because there have been demands by the international community for the political class to carry out much needed reforms. And it's not just that. The Saudi foreign minister himself, a few years back, said that, it's very difficult to engage with a country where Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed group, dominates the state's affairs. So the regional rivalries really played out in Lebanon. And now we have this political shift in Lebanon, a shift in the balance of power, and the new leadership, which is promising a better relationship, if you like, with the Arab world, with Iran's influence decreasing in the country. But again, reforms, those are the key words. And without a new government, because yes, there's a new prime minister, a new president, but still they are facing resistance from the political class in the formation of a new government.
Right, as you say, forming a new government is key. Where are we exactly on the process of that?
The Prime Minister designate Nawaf Salam a few days ago really expressed his frustration. He said that he is the Prime Minister designate and it's his responsibility to form a government. Yes, he can talk and consult with the different political groups because he needs the vote of confidence from Parliament, but he is not, quote, a mailbox for the different political groups to come and inform him who they want as minister and how many seats they want in government. So what is he saying is that he wants to break away from the way things have been done in the past, where portfolios, quotas were distributed among the different political and sectarian groups in the country, that he wants to appoint technocrats. So he really faces an uphill battle. The president, too, expressed frustration yesterday, saying that the world is watching, and the first positive sign will be the formation of a government. So they mustn't allow the sectarian and political interests to obstruct the formation of a new government. But like I said, in Lebanon, this usually takes months as each side tries to, get their share of influence in the government. But this time around, all the political forces know that they need the international community because they need billions of dollars to help the economy.
The prosecutor for the International Criminal Court in The Hague said on Thursday he was seeking arrest warrants for 2 Taliban leaders in Afghanistan. Supreme Spiritual Leader Haibatullah Akhundzada, along with the country's Chief Justice, accusing them of crimes against humanity for widespread discrimination against women and girls. Here's Prosecutor Karim Khan.
My office has concluded that these 2 Afghan nationals are criminally responsible for persecuting Afghan girls and women, as well as persons whom the Taliban perceived are not conforming with their ideological expectations of gender identity or expression, and persons whom the Taliban perceived as allies of girls and women.
There was no immediate comment by Taliban leaders on the prosecutor's statement. Khan said Taliban persecution of women has taken place from at least the 15th of August 2021 and is ongoing.
Photo shots of the Taliban fighters.
Since Afghanistan's Islamist Taliban returned to power in 2021, it has clamped down on women's rights, including limits to schooling, work, and general independence in daily life. In August last year, the Taliban codified a long set of rules governing morality in line with Islamic Sharia law. The rules are enforced by the Morality Ministry, which says it has detained thousands of people for violations. The Afghanistan probe is one of the longest by ICC prosecutors and has been beset by legal and practical delays. The initial preliminary examination started in 2007, and it was only in 2022 that a full-scale investigation has moved forward. The request for arrest warrants moves next to a 3-judge panel at the ICC, which has no set deadline. Such procedures take an average of 3 months.
From a newly minted token bearing Donald Trump's name to the start of his crypto-friendly US government, Trump 2.0 is dominating. This is Crypto Weekly. After pouring record sums of money into the 2024 US elections, the cryptocurrency industry was feeling hopeful as Trump took office this week. So hopeful, in fact, that Bitcoin hit a record high, over $109,000, before Trump was sworn in as the 47th US president. Trump campaigned on promises to be a crypto president and has pledged to reverse an industry crackdown under former President Joe Biden's SEC. It sued multiple crypto companies, alleging they flouted the rules. Trump's first major move appears to be underway. The US Securities and Exchange Commission's new leadership says it has created a task force. It will develop a regulatory framework for crypto assets. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the CEO of crypto exchange platform Coinbase said he expects the Trump effect to continue. A positive outlook echoed by CFRA's Aniket Ulal.
If we look at all crypto ETF assets, and this is across both spot and the futures products, we just crossed about $129 billion in assets. Just to put that in perspective, there's $127 billion in gold ETFs, and gold ETFs have been around for 20 years. So there's no question this is a resounding success. It's a new asset class that I think investors are taking seriously.
On the potential US policy menu is legislation that would offer clarity on crypto's place in the markets, as well as a US-backed strategic Bitcoin reserve. But the launch of the Trump token, as well as the Melania token for First Lady Melania Trump, raises fresh conflict of interest concerns. The meme coin hit a valuation exceeding $14 billion on Monday. 80% of Trump Coin's tokens are owned by CIC Digital. It's an affiliate of Trump's business and another entity called Fight, 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 according to its website. Trump has pledged to hand management of his assets to his children, but the crypto asset is raising particular concerns. That's due to its ability to quickly attract billions of speculative dollars with little transparency.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
St. Kitts and Nevis police record a downward crime trend.
Cultural heritage and sustainable development. Insights from Mia Motley's 16th Self-Reliance Trefosa lecture.
St. Kitts and Nevis's top cop calls for proper housing arrangements for juvenile offenders and the mentally ill.
St. Kitts and Nevis Ministry of Health issues warning on hand, foot, and mouth disease. St. Kitts Nevis ambassador prioritizes youth empowerment during Columbia University Model United Nations delegation appearance. Call for AI training in St. Lucia to preserve human connection in education. Grenada's new national party faces more resignations. Internationally, world's largest iceberg heading for British territory. Thank you for listening.